Welcome to the Daily Grow with myself, Todd Locks. My semi-okayish co-host Nick Dar is currently mowing his lawn right now and could not be here. Today we are starting a new little series I'm going to do bi-weekly, or at least that's the plan, where we're going to spotlight I call them Thunderdomians. Those are people that come to Pride on the regular. The last few days, last couple weeks or so, we've been talking about passion, about finding your passion, surrounding yourself with passionate people, finding your passion early. My guest today, he did that. He was started out as a police explorer. Do they call him explorer scouts?
Police explorer.
He was a police explorer. This was an Alton Police Department. They later hired him on to be a patrolman. He became detectives and all kinds of different positions there until he was finally chief. He left there not all that long ago, and now he's the deputy sheriff, the number 2 in charge of Madison County. His name is Marcos Polito. Welcome to the show, Marcos.
Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties, as we always do on the show, but we made it. So, again, thanks for being on here, my brother. I super appreciate it. We're just going to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
All right, just give me info. We already gave your name. How old are you? Job title? Anything else you want to throw in there at us?
Sure, appreciate it. I'm 45, be 46 in a few months.
Damn, you look good.
I appreciate it. That's because a variety of different factors, but no, I don't feel good at times, but it's worth it. But no, as you mentioned, I was with the Alton Police Department for over 22 years, very fortunate enough to retire as the chief. But another opportunity presented itself where I became the assistant sheriff, which is called the chief deputy of the Madison County Sheriff's Office. And that's where I have been for just over a year.
Chief deputy. I like that. I just said deputy sheriff. Chief deputy. That sounds so much better. Wow. Now this is about you, but also we want to we're tying it in with Pride. So how did you end up down at Pride Fitness? I know you started at the old Thunderdome, the original Thunderdome.
Right.
Never were in the yard with this, but you started at the old Thunderdome. What brought you down, and how'd you end up there?
Sure. I actually got introduced to doing circuit from a mutual friend, Kevin Reisick, who actually had Arch Fitness. He had a place in East Alton and then later in Cottage Hills. And for reasons out of his control to a point, he had to end that business. So I grew to love the circuit style of workout. I didn't know I was going to love it. I tried it, a few times just to try to get into fitness. My history is I really never knew how to work out. I would try to go to the gym, but I didn't know what I was doing. And this would have been, late 90s, early 2000s, where internet was there, of course, but we weren't used to having it at our fingertips. So I would just go to the gym and try to watch other people. But whenever I got introduced to a circuit style workout, I loved it for a variety of different factors. So anyway, because I was just so passionate about that, and it actually just fit my personality, physical health, mental health, everything. Whenever that ended, I was searching for another place. And I've always heard about your place, and I had some mutual friends, coworkers who were going there, and they said, come on down. And the moment I came, I continued to love it. But I do remember one of the first times I came, it was in the middle of August. So it was one of those hot, crazy days.
That old place was like a pizza kiln.
Yes.
You feel like a wood-fired pizza in there.
Yeah, absolutely. But it ended up turning, and that's what most of what I'll end up talking about is a love-hate relationship. Of course, it was very tough, but challenging. But that's the part that keeps me moving forward.
And there's something about doing it when it's hot like that,
yes,
or when it's cold like that. You just feel like you're doing a little extra, like you've done something hard that other people just aren't doing, right?
Sure. It's that mental mindset. And that's what I talk about a lot of times, because, your body is tired, or your mind is telling you you're tired, telling you that you're tired. But the reality is you always have more in you. And that's what I always want to do is I try to push, which is why oftentimes at circuit, I'm on my back trying to gasp for air.
You can always tell the people that go really hard, we do a station 30 seconds and you rest 30 seconds. The people are just laying down.
Absolutely. I literally will fall just trying not to be in the way of the stations around me and just trying to look up at the sky and go, give me 30 more seconds, please.
Right. Now, what do you like about Pride Fitness or love, or maybe not, you don't like or love either one of them, but what makes you keep coming back?
Sure, absolutely. It's a variety of different factors. One of the things, there's no doubt there's a physical health there's a physical aspect to things where I do want to keep myself at least functional and moving forward. I've always believed, just in my profession, that I always should be able to be prepared for a situation, no matter what that situation may be. And oftentimes it may not necessarily be all physical. It could just be an adrenaline related situation, but it's ways to manage your heart rate, manage your life, manage just that fight or flight style of attitude. That's why I actually love circuit, for that physical aspect of things. I also love it for the wellness. You and I have talked about this before. Every single person, no matter who you are, you look to the left, look to the right, look at the person in the car next to you. Somebody has or is going through something. We all have different seasons in our life, and I love it for the wellness part of things. That's why I try to keep circuit in my routine as well, because no matter what type of day I have at work, oftentimes it could be challenging or mentally taxing. But whenever I go there, and I'll get into this a little bit later, for the physical part, it's great just to exert that, but also just being around other people, because they're just all walks of life of people in circuit. And that's what I love, from all financial background, just from any background you can consider, that is what you have. And that's what I love. I love being around all types of people.
I was just talking about that with Chief Wells the other day. I was like, just look at like the demographics from
Yes.
a fitness level, from a just, everything, just ethnicity, just everything. You just look around, like just so many different kinds of people. And you know what? They all there like high fiving each other.
Absolutely.
It sounds corny. It sounds so corny. But when you're there and like somebody else, like, somebody who you might not be in any type of social setting with ever, but you're both there sweating and pushing and high-fiving each other. It's just, man, you can't beat the feeling, right?
You darn right. And that's what I love, just incorporating that with the physical self, because I'm a competitive person. So a lot of times in the stations, I try to go hard. And even some of the stations, let's say as a sprint or a sled push, or something like that, I'm looking at to the person next to me, and oftentimes there could be college kids, or could be this, and I know they're going to give me a run for my money. But what I've said before is, even though the reality is we're, I guess, racing against each other, I'm not really racing that person. I'm using their hard work, their fuel, their whatever they're doing for my fuel. And the reality is, even if we're competitive and that person wins or I win, we're still high-fiving, we're still congratulating each other. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about improving. It's about growth. It's our own physical wellness, mental wellness. So that's what I love about that, because no matter who you are, you could have somebody who just doesn't get out of the house much for whatever reason. But whenever they go there, they're actually going to be recognized. You're going to get someone who's like just at least knuckling you. And even though I know some people have different personalities about, I want to go to a gym and then go hide in the corner and things like that. But the reality is, I think as humans, you still like to be valued. You still like to be recognized. So you're not going to get a lot of people in your face making you uncomfortable unless you reciprocate that and you feel you want that. But if you go there, the reality is you're going to get someone who is going to appreciate what you're doing. And even this is one thing that I also really like about your gym, is modifications. So a certain station could be whatever this station is, but for whatever reason, either you don't feel comfortable, or you have a prior physical injury, or it's just too heavy, whatever that is, you can adjust, and nobody's ridiculing you for that. They're actually
I might ridicule them a little bit.
Well, it depends on who it is. There's no doubt, but I think that's your love language. That's how you do it.
Yeah, but love language. I like that.
But the reality is, even if somebody's still doing something, like everybody knows around me, I'm not going to do a deadlift. Why? Because it's my fault. I messed up my form a while back. I kind of tweaked my back, and I just do something else instead. But the reality is, everybody's still always encouraging you. And that's what I think it is, because even if you go there, and even if you don't feel like going, every single person I've talked to who says, I just didn't feel like coming today, as we're walking out, we're like, I'm glad I went. I'm glad I went for a variety of different reasons. Right. And even if you're going to be sore, but it is okay. But glad we went. And I've heard you say this, and I've heard a few other people say this, even in prior shows and comments, to where even if you didn't want to go, and sometimes, the coldest days are the hardest, or, whenever something going on, or there's a little bit of snow on the road, or whatever the factors are, going, whenever you walk out of there, you feel an accomplishment. But the fact of the matter is, even if you went 50%, even though we want people to go harder, that's 50% more than you were than if you would have been sitting on the couch at home. So one step's better than zero.
and going back and touching on something you said, there was a guy he's been going through some stuff here lately, and he hadn't been at circuit for a while. And, I messaged him, hey man, come on, get back. And he came back Saturday for the first time. And so many, like, I don't think people there knew he's going through anything or whatever, but when they saw him, like, hey man, welcome. And dude, that was so freaking cool.
You
so
see that smile light up. Yep.
Yeah.
And you see that instant change of behavior and things like that. So that is many of, those are just some of the reasons why I definitely love the place. You always get that encouragement and accountability. You kind of said that. I have an accountability with you. Like if I would ever go out of town.
Dude, anytime you go on vacation, you send me a text about this. Like, hey man, and I don't ask you to do it. You just, you know what I'm saying? You send it to me and said, hey, I'm going to be in Florida for a week, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to try to find a gym, blah, blah. I love that. I do. I feel like at first I was kind of like surprised by it. Then now I feel like if you don't send me one, then I'm like, hey, what's up, man?
You actually said that one time. One time I didn't send it, and you're like, dude, where you at? And I'm like, I got to send my accountability text. But that's another thing I like about it too, is just accountability, because you have made comments to people like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, and things like that. And I think that is the fuel. Sometimes that's the push that somebody needs, to go, you're right, I need to be here. I am recognized, or somebody does recognize if I'm not here. There's several of us who go pretty often where we have several side text conversations. We have group, chats of, are you going? Are you going? How come? Why not? Things like that.
I want to be added to some of these sites.
She's going to kill me, but there's one we're on with Carrie and
Carrie Allen.
Set certain rules.
Carrie Allen, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few that we were joking about, maybe some rules like, hey, if you miss a certain in a row, you get removed from the group text. Like, no, you got to show up every now.
What is your favorite? Like, we call the exercises we do, we call them station. Do you have a favorite station there?
I have a couple of them. I really do enjoy the sprints. Personally, suicides are okay, but I'm a little bit taller and I kind of feel it on my knees and ankles whenever we do suicide. So I prefer like the longer type of sprints. So I do love those because they push, because even though I'm tired and those heart rates and, the interval train, the intervals that you're doing, you're tired, but I love pushing. I also love rope swing. Whenever we do any type of rope swing. You
feel like a kid again, don't you? Like,
yes, I do.
But to do that rope swing and just smile a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I love it. And then also challenging, no matter what time of what part of the circuit, it whoops me, but I love it. But I love sled, any type of sled push pulls or just anything like that. It's just, I love it. I love any type of station, to be honest with you, that kind of challenges a combination of the muscles, but also respiratory. Like I like being out of breath and trying to push, because I typically try to get myself in that mental mindset of where I know I can push more and even a little bit more. And oftentimes, my body may be, telling me stop, but I don't want to.
Sprints is one of those things also, like, it's just hard to go do sprints on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to go to work out by yourself, or it's hard. But when you come to circuit or whatever, and there's a sprint, you just you have to. And probably is in law enforcement, sprinting is kind of a big deal. It really is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I actually really love about law enforcement, or circuit with law enforcement, bringing that perspective in is, it's been a while since I've been on the street and in patrol and actually in a foot chase and things like that. But I have jokingly said I've never been on a 5-mile nonstop foot chase or intervals. They're usually pushing hard with an adrenaline rush for 30, 45 seconds at a time. You may lose the person for a little bit, then you got to re-go or, re-find them or, re-chase and things like that. So that's another reason why I like that circuit. Because it's interval based, where it's managing that heart rate, but also mentally telling yourself, I have more in me. Don't give up. I got to push and I want to push.
Right. We made a little video the other day after circuit. I forced you to do this. So no, you did not want to do it, but I said, hey, I'm going to have you come on here. We have to do a couple of exercises. I want a video. It's funny. You kind of touched on those. I'm just going to show this and ignore the dramatic music.
I've not seen this. For you guys watching live, I've not seen this. This is not a setup. So
it's not. Here we go. and boom, you know, and I say this, what I hate saying what I like about circuit because I make it up, but what I like is like the things you're doing there, which is actual things we do during the workout, they're just functional. Like you carrying that big grappling dummy. I mean, they're like in being a first responder, picking someone up and carrying them to safety is something you may have to do. And as you saw in that, there's pushing, there's pulling, there's carrying. You know, that's one thing I really like. It transfers over to all areas of life is what I really like about it.
100%. It's all functional, just even in, professional life, but also in, in people's day-to-day life that they could be. But I love so many aspects of it. I love the accountability that people have. Like I said, and accountability could be used as a strong word. People have different interpretation of that. But what I mean by that is if you do miss circuit for a few days, politely, you're going to get some people noticing, like, hey, you weren't there, you doing okay, and that type of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's a big part of everything. It's, some people call it a family atmosphere, family atmosphere in regards to everybody being together. But we all need that no matter where you are in your journey, because you could be a trainer yourself and you're going to have those off days where you don't want to do anything, but people are watching. Same thing. You could be on day 2 of your journey. But the reality is if somebody's watching, you may be able to push a little bit harder. So I just love the environment and the culture that is there. Another thing that I like, and you and I have touched on this before too, is I've talked to a few people who were interested in coming to circuit, but were a little bit intimidated. They're intimidated going, I heard there's a lot of people there. I don't feel like I'm in my best shape. So I feel like I want to go, run on the treadmill before I go there and try to do whatever. And some of the things that I bring up to them is, even though naturally it could be intimidating just going into a new place, you're going to have natural anxiety. I'm an extrovert and I had a tad bit of anxiety going into, a new place. But it's usually minimal. But the fact of the matter is, again, you're going to get recognized. You're going to have somebody who's going to help guide you through the process and kind of be with you. But just as important, you're going to have people who realize that they may be going through things that you are as well. So I kind of got distracted on one of the points I wanted to go for, and I'll touch back on it in a second. But that's one of the things that I kind of really like. There you go. Now I remember. There we go. Dangerous things about being live. Here we go.
Well,
a little introduction into what goes on up there. Is the reality is whenever you have somebody going in there, you feel like somebody's going to be staring at you the whole time, because a lot of people are self-conscious. Whenever they're going through their journey, they could be starting their journey. But I say usually whenever those stations start, there's nobody paying attention like that. There's no judging like that. Absolutely, like I said, I'm openly admitting you're going to actually probably be looking at me on the ground wondering if I'm okay, because I'm going to be passing out on the ground. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, this is a culture has been set up in this gym to where there is nobody that is teasing or making fun of someone. So if you do an adjustment, no matter what your fitness level is, experience, anything, if you feel like you're going to be either made fun of or judged, I am certain that before Todd actually hears about it or says anything, you're going to get several people in that gym to correct that, if that would ever happen. I've never seen or heard that happen. Not saying it never will, but I highly, highly doubt it'll ever happen, because it'll get corrected. The culture in that gym is encouragement, growth for everyone, no matter what. And in fact, with me, that's what I love. Personally, my fuel is watching other people go hard and work hard. And whenever I am out of breath and I look over and I see that first timer, second timer, or that person who's just back on their journey and they're pushing hard, I like to go acknowledge them, because the fact of the matter is, I am now using their hard work and their, they're challenging the challenge that they have in their head to continue on as my fuel. And I feel I need to do that too. So oftentimes they are encouraging me just as much as I may be encouraging them.
Well said. And you say you look over and you see somebody else going hard. Like it could be someone who's 6 months pregnant. It
Sure.
might be a 70-year-old man. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, crap, I got it pretty easy if they're here doing it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, I think we do have, there's a 72-year-old that goes in there. He's amazing. He pushes hard. We had a few people who I think were at circuit 2 days before they may have delivered.
I know. Marcos, thank you for coming on. Thanks for being our first spotlight. You talked about the culture there at Flight Fitness, and I'll tell you what, dude, it's you have maybe you admit it not, you have a position of authority. You know what I'm saying? It's and kind of you're in the public eye a little bit, but you are there like just with that big, I always call it your big goofy cheesy smile on there, and just high-fiving people and making people feel welcome. Because I think people would hear, oh, the chief deputy, they would think, they would have a stereotype of you and being in the gym with you, but man, it couldn't be, they couldn't be more wrong. So that's why I wanted to have you on. Thanks very much. Thanks for being a part. Thank you for always promoting us, and thanks for being my freaking friend. So
love it. No.
I'm sure I will see you tonight.
I was getting ready to say, for anybody watching, thinking on the first time or hasn't been in a while, we're going to see you tonight at 6 o'clock.
All right, brother. Hey, have a great day. Again, thank you very much, Marcos. I appreciate it.
Have a good one. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Daily Grow, and thank you for growing with us.